Hey everyone, my name is Cynthia Olomar, and I am going to be presenting on my major applied research report. And the topic I chose for my MARP assignment for Aziza Pacific was gamification. And one of the main reasons I chose gamification was because it was a topic that I was not familiar with at all. It was a topic that I had heard about, and it was a topic that did interest me, so it really caught my attention. And I would have to say that one of the main reasons it caught my attention was because I'm actually not in a classroom at this moment. So I am very interested in finding out new ways and new techniques on how to engage students in learning. So not only is that one of my biggest fears, that I will not have my students engaged, but it is also one of the things that I want to be very successful in. So I wanted to learn more about gamification, since I've noticed that, nowadays, it doesn't matter whether you're an adult or whether you're a child. It seems like a lot more of our attention goes to games, whether it's Angry Birds, or whether it's Minecraft or Plants vs. Zombies, or Candy Crush. It's a lot of gamification that there are a lot of games that we focus on, and believe it or not, a lot of our time goes to there, and a lot of our students' time is focused on gaming. So why not take those aspects and incorporate them into the classroom? So let's go ahead and get started. The first question is, of course, what is gamification? That was my first question. I had no idea what it was, and I actually found a very good article, and it is a blog called Top Hat, and the article is by Susanna Holloway, and she describes gamification as the use of game design and mechanics to enhance non-game context by increasing participation, engagement, loyalty, competition. These methods can include points, leaderboards, direct competitions, and stickers or badges, and can be found in industries as varied as personal health care, retail, and of course education. So, one of my other big questions was, how can I incorporate gamification in my classroom? And some of the articles that I read, or that specific blog actually mentioned that we can actually incorporate gamification in a lot of our assessments. We can incorporate it into our classroom management. So we can incorporate it into these aspects of our classroom, for example, by providing our students points. So if they're behaving correctly, we can provide them points. We can provide them badges. We can provide team points. Same thing with our assessments. It's just a more engaging way to be able to get their attention and incorporate that gamification into our classroom. So two websites that I wanted to mention that I actually found very interesting. So when it comes to gamification, one of the websites that they mentioned a lot was Kahoots. And Kahoots is a website where you can actually go in there and design an assessment. And the students actually answer the questions, but it feels like a game because they start to get points for every question that they answer correctly. And then the really cool thing about Kahoot is that it gives them instant feedback. So they see their name going up. They're just more motivated to try and achieve it. So by looking at the demo right here, you can actually see how adults and students are actually excited to use that to use the application of Kahoot. Another good website that I learned for if you do want to incorporate gamification in your classroom is called Classcraft. And Classcraft is actually a website that is free. There is a version where you can actually pay for it and you're going to unlock additional features. But if you use the free option, it's a website or an application that you can use in your classroom to promote good classroom behavior and good team behavior. It's excellent for classroom management. It has a lot of features that would be a whole different video if I sat here and explained it all to you. But it is definitely something I would recommend for you to take a chance and really look into it if it's something that you're interested in. Some of the aspects that I really liked was that you can provide your students these points for doing well in class, for helping one another, for conducting themselves in a way that you want them to conduct themselves in your classroom. And then if they happen not to do that, then you start to deduct points from them. And then there's unexpected consequences. So it's like a random consequence, and you get to choose what those random consequences is. I found it pretty cool that some teachers had, you're lucky and you don't have a consequence at this time. Whereas other teachers had the consequence where like you have to turn in an assignment sooner than the expected due date, or you have an additional assignment, or you have to write an essay. But it's actually really cool because it's going to be very random on what they're going to get, and it just promotes more engagement. So those were some of two of the websites that really got my attention actually, and I wanted to go ahead and recommend for you to do a little additional research and look into them and see if that's something that you would want to incorporate into your classroom as far as gamification. Now, so of course, gamification, it can't be all good, right? There has to be some disadvantages, and yes, there are some disadvantages. Many people believe that it distracts students from their learning objectives. Gamification requires computer and internet, so that could be a disadvantage for your students who may not have access to computers and internet at home. That may be a disadvantage. Or maybe if you're doing gamification and the students are using their phones, their personal phones, and you have certain students that don't have the means to have a personal phone, then that can definitely be a disadvantage. It may be expensive, and it can consume the teacher's budget or school budget. So one of the examples that they gave was sometimes teachers or schools will invest in like a game-based learning system, which will consume a lot of their funds, and then it'll take funds away from students actually being able to go on field trips. A lot of people believe that it replaces hands-on activities. So now everything is electronic, and they don't have access to actually like be able to do it hands-on. So some people believe that is a disadvantage. Some of the things that they did mention as far as gamification, so some of the common mistakes that we want to avoid and that can be a disadvantage is if you don't have, like, let's say you're gamifying your classroom, right? Or you're gamifying a certain lesson, but you don't have clear goals or clear expectations, then your gamification it's not going to be successful. And then a lot of people believe that another disadvantage or a mistake would be if you focus it just on competition. It shouldn't just be a competition. You want to make sure that you enforce like reinforcement, let them know like, hey, it's okay to fail. Like, you can go ahead and try again. Team building, team effort, you want to make sure you incorporate all of that. But a lot of people believe that, gamification is just based on competition, and that can be unhealthy. So those were the disadvantages. Now, what are the advantages? So there's a whole lot of advantages. Some of the best advantages is the engagement that it provides the students. It allows the students to try multiple times at doing something and being able to level up or to advance and, be able to work as a team and really have a clear goal on what they're doing. So that is definitely an advantage, and I actually found this video that I would like to share with you all. So if we'll just take a minute to go ahead and look at it, that'll be great. Well, thank you very much for your attention. I really appreciate it, and I hope you all enjoyed my presentation. Have an excellent night.